Reach into your pocket or glance over at your stove. You are almost certainly within arm's reach of fire instant, on demand, so easy that a child can make it by accident. Now imagine all of it gone, no lighter, no match, no spark, just you, your bare hands, and a cold, wet world that wants your flame to die. For most of human history, this wasn't a game. It was the line between living and freezing in the dark. So here's the question that sounds simple until you actually try it. How did your ancestors pull fire out of nothing? And there's a twist hiding inside that question, because using fire and making fire are two completely different problems, and they were separated by an astonishing stretch of time. Here's the image most people carry. You rub two sticks together, and a flame leaps up in seconds. It's a nice picture. It's also wrong. Making fire from nothing is brutally hard, so hard that for most of the time, humans have used fire. They weren't making it at all. They were finding it. Because the first fire skill wasn't creating, it was keeping. Long before anyone could spark a flame on demand, your ancestors were harvesting fire from the world, a lightning strike, a wildfire, and then guarding that ember with their lives. The evidence for humans using fire goes back a staggering distance. At Gesher, Benot, Yaakov in Israel, there are traces of repeated fire from around 790,000 years ago. Some sites, like Wonderwerk cave in South Africa, may push it back close to 1,000,000 years, though how controlled that fire was is still debated. And by roughly 300,000 years ago at Qesem cave, people were using the same hearth again and again. That is the key word, again. A fire you keep, carried from camp to camp, fed through the night, never, if you could help it, allowed to go out. Losing it could be a death sentence, but fire was never just warmth. Here's where it gets bigger than survival. The primatologist Richard Wrangham argues that fire did something to your body itself. Cooked food is softer, safer, and unlocks far more energy than raw. And once your ancestors were cooking, Wrangham suggests, their guts could shrink and their brains could grow fed by all those extra calories. It's still a debated idea, but if he's right, fire didn't just keep your ancestors alive. Fire helped make them human. So how do you make it when there's no flame waiting in the world? Here's the first real solution, and it runs on nothing but muscle and physics. Friction. You take a hard stick and spin it or plow it against a softer wooden board. You rub your palms together right now, and you feel a little warmth. Push that same principle to its absolute limit, fast, hard, relentless, and the wood dust in that notch can climb to somewhere around 400 degrees. It's the same reason a car's brakes get hot enough to burn you. Not a flame, a glowing coal no bigger than a match head. And that tiny coal is everything. But spinning a stick by hand is exhausting, and it slips. So here's where it becomes genuinely clever. Someone looped a cord around the drill and pulled it back and forth with a bow. Now the drill spins fast and steady, and your hands are free to press down with real force. Stop and think about what that is. A cord, a bow, a spindle, working together to concentrate energy on a single point. It may be one of the first simple machines humans ever built, and they aimed it straight at the problem of fire. And then comes the detail that impresses modern survival experts the most. Because there's another way entirely no rubbing at all. You strike a hard stone against a lump of iron pyrite and you throw a shower of sparks. But here's the hidden problem, the one beginners always miss. A spark is tiny and it dies in an instant. To catch it, you need tinder so fine and so dry it can hold that spark and coax it into a glow, a specially prepared fungus or shredded bark, teased apart like hair. The genius was never just the spark, it was knowing exactly what could catch it. And we know this is ancient because one man carried the proof into a glacier. Ötzi, the 5,000-year-old Iceman found frozen in the Alps, was preserved with his fire kit intact. Inside it, a piece of iron pyrite and lumps of a specially chosen fungus to catch the spark. Not a guess, not a reconstruction. The actual toolkit of a real person who made fire by striking stones over 5,000 years ago. And here's the part that should give you pause. That exact principle is still in your pocket. Flick a cheap lighter, and a tiny wheel scrapes against a flint, throwing sparks the same idea your ancestors used, just miniaturized. You are carrying a 100,000-year-old idea and calling it disposable. But here's the strangest part. Even after humans could make fire, keeping an old one was often easier than starting a new one. So a group's fire became something close to sacred, guarded, tended in shifts, carried carefully when the band moved on, passed down like an heirloom because every single person understood how much sweat, skill, and luck it took to replace. Making fire from scratch never became casual. It stayed a hard-won skill, right up until the moment machines made it disappear. So flick back to your own life. You make fire without a single thought, a flick, a click, a turn of a dial. That effortlessness is brand new. It sits on top of tens of thousands of years of freezing hands, failed attempts, and guarded embers. The hard part isn't making fire. The hard part was always making fire. What's strange historically is how easy it just became. So reach into your pocket one more time. That flame you can summon in a quarter of a second, the one so ordinary you'll use it today without noticing, once cost your ancestors everything they had to figure out. You didn't inherit fire. You inherited the hardest problem they ever solved, already solved, handed to you for free. Every time you light a stove, you are standing on the far side of the single greatest technical victory in human history, and it's so complete you get to forget it was ever a fight.